In this session, we're going to be looking to decrease tension through muscle tissue, connective tissue like fascia, mobilize joints, and hopefully help leave you feeling good. We're going to start by coming down to our trusty foam roller here, and we're going to roll through our mid-upper back, the thoracic spine. So you can come down onto your back, start below the shoulder blade. You can start at the top too, wherever you want. Just the philosophy here, the idea is what's important. We want to work vertebrae at a time, kind of moving up in or down in inch or 2-inch segments. And we're looking to extend through the spine to get some extension through the thoracic spine, which is usually in a flexed position a lot of the time. Seating in desk, gravity pulling you down, that kind of thing. So get in here, find a good spot for yourself. Like I said, I like to start a little bit lower. Gripping the hands behind the head, relax your neck into your fingers, into your hands. And then start by getting some extension, letting the head and the back drop over the roller. Use abdominals to control this, so keep some abdominal tension connecting the ribs to the front of the pelvis. And extending the back over the roller. As much or as little as you need here. This can be intense, especially if you're quite kyphotic, have a large curve in the mid-upper back there. So just take your time with this. You could also just use a pillow, a yoga bolster, or just lay down on the back on the ground. So some extending here, breathing in, flaring the ribs, opening up. And then an exhale to flex the abdominals to bring you back up. And then you can press into the feet, lift the hips, and just roll the body down a bit, rolling the roller up about 1 inch or 2 like I mentioned before, and just sink into things again here. You might get some cracks and some pops and stuff. That's what will happen here as we kind of gap some joints and relieve some tension within the joint. You might not, if you're very mobile, through the spine. And just take your time to come down here and breathe. We're looking to decrease sympathetic nervous system activation, so we want to come down and slow down, come into the body and breathe. Maybe you spend more time in one area than others, depending on how things are feeling here. And then I'm gonna move myself down again. Some more extension. In massage therapy, I found that depending on what people do, the way they move, sometimes some vertebrae can not get stuck together, but the connective tissue around it getting tighter, and then not getting as much mobility in between the individual vertebrae there. So this can be really good, separating those and working on mobility in the vertebrae separately, rather than working how we normally would, moving and allowing them to kind of move in this kind of blocky fashion. So you might find mobility increase after this. Might find yourself standing a little bit more upright, or breathing a little bit more easily, as this is flaring the ribs and pressing into the ribs from the back as well. Pressing in one more time. We're getting up to around the shoulder blades there. And then we'll ease out of that. We're gonna come into the first other part. We're gonna work through the adductors, so that kind of inside hamstring and all the muscles supporting into the groin and the inside of the femur. So we're gonna use the foam roller here. Have it on a slight angle to your body, and then we're gonna have that top leg over top. We wanna work right across the knee as a few of the adductors in the inside hamstring are crossing the knee and attaching into the tibia in the front here. So we want to make sure that we work past that as well. I'm going to start down right on the knee, and then you can open up the chest to the floor here. And then we're just doing a movement of side to side. Just to roll through 3 or 4 inch kind of sections, 6-inch sections at a time here. A great movement to do that's going to lengthen these muscles as we work is some extension and flexion of the knee. So sink in here and breathe. Support your upper body as you work here. So a little abdominal tension, anchoring the ribs to the front of your pelvis, and then shoulders are going to want to press up into the neck here. So pressing down and anchoring the shoulders back towards the hips to engage the lats and support the shoulder in a healthy position. And then you can just roll here, working across that knee, maybe into the upper tibia here, the lower leg bone. And then we want to get all the way slowly working in towards the groin here. So as you kind of don't want to roll off your mat, you can just use your hand to roll a little bit closer to the groin here, and then working through this. You can turn your toes a little bit up towards the ceiling to get more into that inside hamstring, if that feels good. Just kind of play around here. Maybe if you turn the toe down towards the floor, you're going to get a little bit more into the inside quad muscle. And breathing, supporting the shoulders, adjusting the roller as you need. You might take yourself through certain spots a little bit faster than others as you feel like, there's not really much going on here, so just listen to that. But then when you do find a spot, take the time, come into the area with your mind, bring the nervous system's attention there. This is an active process as well, that connection, looking to find a release in the tissue actively. As well as applying pressure, applying friction, bringing energy into the tissue with this external force, the roller, and some pulling and lengthening to mobilize the connective tissue, the fascia. And then we want to work right up into the groin, right up into the pubic bone, so you can get in nice and close there. Breathing. Searching some movement with the leg. And then when you're ready, you can go into the other side. Move at your own pace though, if you feel like this side is where you need to be, or if I'm talking about getting into a certain area and you know because there's an injury or you've been working with physiotherapists or a chiropractor, which side is more necessary perhaps for you, just get into that. But always check in with the other side, especially if there's been an injury that's lasted a longer term. You're talking like 2-3 months to 6 months or a few years. Always check in on the opposite side for compensation. It's amazing what will happen over time. Working right across the knee. Breathing. When I was practicing registered massage therapy, I don't anymore, but when I would work some of my lines that I would run with my elbow, through the inside groin would take me a minute or two to run that single line. So take the time here, slow down. We're not looking to get through things. We're not looking just roll to roll because someone said that you should. We're looking to create change. So however long that takes, we're here to, give ourselves some care. So slow down. Hopefully you don't have anything else going on tonight. You can just take your time. Some flexion, extension, maybe some turning of that toe, some internal rotation or some external rotation at the leg here, the femur. Breathing, supporting with the shoulders. And then adjusting the roller whenever you need. Don't be afraid to get in there with your hand to move things around. If you want to get more specific, you can use a ball, like the orb there. But you can't really use a small ball like the lacrosse ball or that little rad ball I have. You could around the knee perhaps, but not when you get up here. You need that height a little bit away from the floor. And then again, we want to get all the way up into the pubic bone, so make your way up there. Get in close and personal with the foam roller. Supporting with the shoulders, always kind of bring your mind back to your supports. Take as much time as you need here. Noting which sides you felt more tension. Rolling is a great way to learn about your body, where you're holding your tension, how you're moving. As you learn more about anatomy here, you can kind of figure out how you're moving, how you're using your body. Are you using it evenly side to side? Nice. Well, gently come out of there. Feel free to keep working in there if you feel like you need to do that. You can kind of stretch out, jiggle the legs a bit, get things moving. The next area we're going to work through is the anterior compartment of the lower leg. A lot of these muscles are doing some pulling up here, some dorsiflexion of the ankle, and stabilizing force absorption as well is huge there. You can use a roller. This one is specifically for rolling tissue, but you can definitely use your dough roller, your pastry roller. If you want to go dust that off, clean it up a bit to work through here, it's a great tool. This has a little bit of a cushioning on it, a little rubber bit. So this might be a little bit more acceptable for the body, a little bit less intense, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a foam roller here. So here we're going to come into that quadruped position, and we're going to bring one leg up onto the roller. You can bring the other leg up to work here, but that can get quite intense. So I usually bring back into almost a lunge type position here, supporting on that back knee and the hands pressing into the floor. And then we're just going to do some rolling down the shin, a few inches at a time. You can start up just below the knee. It starts just below the knee on the tibia there. So the tibia, there's just mostly bone here and connective tissue down the inside. We want to work right from that ridge you can kind of feel here to the outside, to where the fibula is here. So I'll do a little bit of internal rotation with the foot here to bring us into that spot. Kind of bringing the leg slightly across my body. And breathing, you could do some plantar or dorsi and plantar flexion here. And that will lengthen and contract the muscle tissue as you work through it. And then we want to work all the way down right to the ankle. This can be very intense. Very few people, I would say, would roll through here unless they have something going on. Great for anybody that's running or doing a lot of jumping, if you play volleyball, basketball, anything like that. Snowboarding, skiing. Spend as much time as you need on each side. Also a good place to work to increase ankle mobility. And then you can take your time here. Maybe you could do a couple of ankle circles here in between, see how that feels. Feel free to grab water anytime. And then we'll come into the other side. Pressing hands down. Bringing that leg slightly across the body and rotating the toe inward, and then you can start up at the knee or start down by the ankle, make it your own. Breathing. I don't feel as much on my right side as I do on my left, which is interesting. I usually use my leg a little bit more stabilization on the left side and more mobile, dexterous things on my right. I was right-footed in soccer, so planting on my left, kicking with my right. But I was kind of expecting to find more here. So you learn something new every day. Learning about our body. Look at us go. Breathing, adjust the roller whenever you need. Get all the way down to the ankle. Here, most of my weight is in my other knee, not here, since we're not over top of the roller with our femur. So we have to press. We're using our quad to kind of press the leg into that's why it can be nice to work with that other leg on top. And you can try it. Take your time with that. And then some ankle circles after. A good way to check in with the body, and then in between this session, and hopefully you're here next week, it'll give you a chance to maybe find some areas to work on your own. We're gonna move up to the chest and bicep. We're gonna work mostly through the front of the shoulder here, so we're not gonna get through pecs today. We're gonna get through deltoid and into the bicep tendon as it crosses the shoulder, and then down into the bicep here. So when you're ready, we can come down to the floor, having that roller out to the side. Again, you can use the ball here if you want. Arms out to the side. Palm down, or you can turn your back here. That can be good to kind of get into bicep a little bit more, turning the thumb down to the floor. And then the movement to do here would be a little bit of extension at the elbow, even at the shoulder, kind of bringing the hand back up towards the ceiling and the whole arm. Or you can do some reaching as well, and then just kind of letting things relax here. Or you can just use your intuition. You might just sink into it in spots and just hold and just relax and breathe and facilitate and wait for that relaxation of the tissue, that opening. We're also moving around fluid as well, that pressing and rolling, intracellular, extracellular fluid, blood in the capillaries, taking out waste products and bringing in new fluid. So it's great for recovery in that regard. Decreasing muscle tension across the joints to increase mobility of the joints and decrease friction in the joint as well, which goes a long way for holding off things like osteoarthritis. And here, bicep is crossing the elbow, so we want to work all the way across. Breathing and relaxing. You can have your head in your hand. Gently back and forth or holding. You can kind of feel things letting go there if you give it time and you listen. We're so external in our lives now. Everything is go, go, go and busy, and just slow down and connect with yourself. Try some different rotation there. Some reaching. Take your time, come out when you're ready. You can shake things out and breathe. And then we'll come into the other side when you're ready. Starting up just in front of the shoulder here, and then working down the front of that arm. So here we'll be getting through deltoid, the shoulder muscle, that attachment of pecs on the humerus, the upper arm bone, and bicep tendon. Might even catch a little bit of the lat attachment as well. Or the front rotator cuff muscle, subscapularis as well, attaches onto the head of the humerus there at the top. On the front, just kind of underneath pec. Just take your time and listen to the tissue and breathe. Use your intuition. Slow down when you need to. Slow down all the time. Slow down. That is one thing that I see mostly with rolling, is just the speeding up to roll through the tissue, and then there's a lack of connection, a lack of change. And you don't learn as much from it. And there's something we can learn from every interaction, not only with other people, but with our body. Start to come down into the upper arm, thumb towards the floor here, some movement maybe of the elbow. Breathing. Adjust the roller's position whenever you need. As you cross the elbow, you might be getting into the flexors of the forearm, or and that connection on the radius, the arm bone of bicep. In the ulna. Nice. You can come out of that, check in with the arms. How does that feel side to side? And then lastly, we're going to get through some posterior rotator cuff here. So we're going to work into the back of the shoulder. You can use the foam roller for this, or you can use something bigger like the orb here. And you can do all of this stuff against the wall as well. If you're lacking mobility or this is too intense on the floor, you can always stand up against the wall. Same idea, same concept. So here we're getting right up underneath the arm into the back of the shoulder, onto the scapula. Here, crossing the humerus to the scapula to get into infraspinatus, teres major and minor, rotator cuff muscles. Major isn't technically a rotator cuff muscle, but it does rotation of the humerus. Stabilizing. And here the movement is some internal and external rotation. You can also do maybe some reaching here. Just listen to your body. You can kind of come back onto the shoulder blade a little bit more, opening up your chest to the ceiling. Breathing. Here I'm actually pulling my shoulder away from my ear, so I'm kind of pressing into the ball gently to support it. So it's not just pressing my humerus and my shoulder up into my neck. So still supporting yourself here, as well with the core, some abdominal tension. But make it your own, find what works, just support yourself and move slow. Breathe. A little bit of a broken record, but always good to come back to these things. Take your time. That can be a spicy area, so take your time there with that. You might know from past injuries, again, you know, where you might want to work a little bit more from shoulder to shoulder, but do check in with the other side, but you can spend more time where you need to. And here we're coming into the back of the shoulder. Triceps is also attaching into this area, so we're kind of working through that as well. Maybe getting into a little bit of lat as it crosses here. So some reaching overhead could help there. You can support here with the other hand and that pressing down gently of the shoulder into the ball. You can open up here, getting onto that shoulder blade. Oh, the axillary nerve comes out here, and that can cause a lot of issues. I worked in that area with that particular nerve a lot with people, rotator cuff injuries. Always seem to clamp down on that nerve. The dogs are barking right now. Somebody's probably walking on our road. They're good protectors. Hazel and Willow, some Great Pyrenees. Fluffy cuties. Nice, and then when you're done with that side, take your time coming out. Check in with the body. How are things feeling? Do you need to work anywhere else? You can always check in on some areas again if you feel like you need to. Or come back to them later in the week or on the weekend, and use some of this stuff to help yourself, after your sports and stuff, if you do sporting things. But yeah, there you go. Grab some water, take care of yourself, chill out, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.